A shark sighting in Miami. Major League Rugby's newest team makes their debut.
Inter Miami dominates on the pitch against Orlando City.
And it's land versus sky in a race between Formula One and a drone. All of this and more on the sideline.
Hello, South Florida, and welcome to the Sideline, the place where you get all of your highlights for your South Florida teams. I'm Anthony Milian.
And I'm Anthony Cruz, and the sideline starts now. The team kicked off the start of the season at home. Sideline's Jamie Nunez has more on their debut.
History was made Sunday at AutoNation Field in Fort Lauderdale as Major League Rugby's newest team, the Miami Sharks, made their professional rugby debut in Florida and for MLR as they go up against the Chicago Hounds.
Miami's debut was accompanied with some South Florida showers that didn't scare off passionate Shark fans who've been anticipating this moment for months. The opening possessions were competitive as both teams knocked down 2 penalty goals to put the score at 6-6. The Sharks then found themselves down a man for half of the 40-minute first half after committing penalties causing 2 yellow cards. The Hounds scored back-to-back tries that led to a 9-20 deficit for Miami going into halftime. The second half resurgence began when Sean McNulty scored the Miami Sharks' first ever try and their only of the game. The Sharks outscored the Hounds 10-3 in the second half, but that wasn't enough to come out victorious in the debut of the Sharks. Final score, Chicago Hounds 23, Miami Sharks 19.
The Miami Sharks take on the Seattle Seawolves as they head on the road for their next MLR match. Reporting with Caplin News, I'm Jamie Nunez.
Inter Miami returned to Chase Stadium and dominated a rivalry match against Orlando City SC. It took a staggering not 1, not 2, but 3 minutes for Luis Suarez to give the Herons the lead, and the scoring only continued from there. With 6 shots on target, both Suarez and Lionel Messi put in 2 goals each to help shut out Orlando. The final score was Inter Miami 5, Orlando City 0. The Herons take on the first leg of the CONCACAF Champions Cup against Nashville SC on Thursday.
After a lengthy and successful road trip, the Miami Heat came back home in time to play some string music to beat the Utah Jazz. It was a close matchup as both teams could not extend to double digits, despite some missed looks from Jimmy Butler. He sunk crucial shots in a 37-point performance to keep Miami ahead in the final minutes. The final score was Heat 126, Utah 120. Miami has won 6 of their last 7 games and will face the Detroit Pistons tomorrow at 7:30.
The Florida Panthers sit nicely and comfortably at the top of the Eastern Conference standings after shutting out the Detroit Red Wings. Physicality was the focal point for the Cats, and they used it to net 4 goals in the last 40 minutes. Goalie Sergei Bobrovsky had his 4th 22-save shutout game as Florida strolled to their 4th straight victory. The final score, Panthers 4, Detroit 0. Florida will visit the New York Rangers to keep their winning streak alive tonight.
The hottest team in South Florida at the turn of the new year has ironically been on the ice. We have studio analyst Nikki Esper here to talk about the Panthers. So, Nikki, the Panthers are 12-2 in their last 14 games. Tell me what's going on the ice.
Yeah, I mean, they're looking great. They're the top spot in the NHL right now. I think that they've only lost 2 games since the beginning of February. They're on hot. They got the defense is top in the league right now. You got Bobrovsky, who is locked in. He has a routine, and he's using it to his advantage. He is now on his 4th shutout after the win against the Red Wings this past week. I think he's definitely going to be a finalist for the Vezina Award. He's looking great. The defense is looking great. Yeah.
So they now have the 6th hardest schedule to close out the year. They only have a month left. They face your New York Rangers tonight, and they will face them again before the season closes out. How do you project that they'll close out the year with the hot streak that they've had?
I think with the quarter of the season to go, I think they're looking really great. I think they got Sam Reinhart, who's leading offensive play right now. He's going great. He's got top in the power play goals, top in the shorthand goals. He just hit his 40th goal of the season. I think he looks great. I think the whole season looks great. I think they want to go back and get their Stanley Cup for the first time.
Well, they've been in contention for quite a few years now, and obviously Hockey Mania has kind of taken over South Florida. Is this finally the year that they get it done?
I don't know. I think I would say in the best possible way of being a New York fan, I think that I wish the Panthers the most luck, and I think that this season might be their season.
Well, I'm glad you removed your bias. I didn't think you could get through all of this with a
she
straight
would.
face. But now let's move on. Let's transition to our favorite segment, Biggest WNL. I will start. Caitlin Clark. How do you not talk about the new all-time leading scorer? Not in women. She already did that 2 weeks ago with Kelsey when she passed Kelsey Plum. In all of NCAA basketball history. I mean, she's revolutionizing the game. She's a game changer. There's nothing else. Like, everything has already been said about her. So, what's your biggest W?
I'll one up you on that. My biggest W is going to go to LeBron James being the first NBA player to reach 40,000 points, an accomplishment that truly, in my opinion, cements him as the greatest basketball player of all time. ESPN will continue forever about the debates about Jordan against LeBron, but I think we've gotten to a point where his greatness is undeniable, and I know a lot of people on Twitter will say he's their Le Boo Boo Bear or their Le Pookie. But LeBron truly has emerged as the greatest basketball player of all time. And congratulations to him and Caitlin Clark for their accomplishments.
I mean, I think it's just a testament to his longevity as a player. Like, you just look, it is a tangible number, 40,000 points. And just, it is a tangible number to the amount of years and 2 decades of dominance that he's had all over the league. So what is your biggest W?
Well, another big congratulations to the United States women's soccer team. They just beat Colombia in a 3-0 win. They had all of their goals in the first half. Second half, they came in complete shutout. So I think big congratulations to them. They're going to the semifinals and looks good.
Well, now let's move on to the down note, the things that we did not see that were well in sports this week. And honestly, I'm excited for mine. Kyle Kuzma. Look at me in the camera. You said that you didn't want to be one of those teams back in November when the Detroit Pistons had a winless month. Well, guess what, buddy? Your team just had a winless month in February, and the Washington Wizards have had no direction, no future. They have been an absolute joke of a franchise since John Wall left. And you know, even when John Wall was there, y'all couldn't put help around him. You could have been traded to the Dallas Mavericks in the trade deadline. Remember that. But you stayed to build a culture in Washington. What kind of culture they're building there, huh?
I don't know about it, man. It's not looking great there. It's really not.
So what's your biggest L?
My biggest L, you want to talk about loser franchises. I want to talk about loser people. And I want to talk specifically, I mentioned Twitter in my biggest W. The Twitter users, just the incels that are making fun of Caleb Williams for not participating in the combine drills, and overall just people hating on him, which I'm not really sure why. He's the greatest quarterback prospect we've seen in years, and I'll transition to from my biggest W. You have to learn to appreciate greatness like people have learned to do with LeBron James. It's time to do that with Caleb Williams. He hasn't played an NFL snap yet, but I predict him being one of the best players in the NFL really quickly, and I think his talents are amazing, and I think people making fun of him just reaching for the low-hanging fruit, and it's really just so stupid, really, and people making fun of him for painting his nails and wearing a dress, and I think it was an H&M ad. Just like, grow up, man. Just like, don't be a loser, don't be on Twitter, don't be an idiot. Just grow up, learn to appreciate sports, learn to appreciate greatness. So people making fun of Caleb Williams, you're my biggest L of the week.
Yeah.
Nikki?
Valuing life, I would say my biggest L of the week would be Chris Mortensen's death. We lost an award-winning journalist. He was on the NFL for the ESPN, got many awards, Pro Football Writers of America, the Dick McCain Award. Peyton Manning posted a Instagram post about his death saying, "We lost a true legend," was the caption. And yeah, I think just sending condolences to everyone in the NFL, ESPN, anywhere, his family, and yeah, rest in peace.
Life is short.
I think we could all speak that to the Mort Report and Stuart Van and all of these ESPN broadcasters that have passed away were huge inspirations to all of us.
Absolutely.
But moving on, here's what we have next on the sideline.
A Formula One race car takes the track, not with fellow cars, but with a speedy drone. And we break down our picks for South Florida sports this week. Sideline will take a quick timeout, and we'll be back right after the break.
A team of engineers believed to have created a drone that could match the speed of a Formula One car. The only way to see for sure was to settle it on the track.
CNN's Jeremy Roth has more with the race between land and air.
Watch a sleek F1 race car go head-to-head with what's being called the world's fastest aerial drone. Red Bull commissioned the ultra-quick drone design from a team called the Dutch Drone Gods in order to showcase their brand new race car's track chewing chops. What they produced was a drone that could accelerate twice as fast as the car and hit an F1 caliber top speed of 217 miles per hour, which was more than enough to stay hot on the heels of the driver, Formula One world champ Max Verstappen, who said he was truly impressed with how the drone kept up.
All right, so now we transition into our game pick segment. Anthony, a lot of the teams in South Florida are pretty hot looking into this week. Now let's move in first into the Panthers. So Nikki already talked about the successful start that the Panthers have had to 2024 and now moving into the playoffs. Can you tell me, how do you think they're going to play against the Rangers, one of the other better teams in the league?
12 out of 14 wins. You said it yourself during the Panthers analysis. The Panthers are arguably the hottest team in NHL right now. And I think a tough game against the Rangers is a true test getting near the playoffs. We're entering March, which is really that time where teams have to start hunkering down, and teams that are on the bubble are going to have to play their best and truly try to make the playoffs and put a last-ditch effort to the season. But luckily, the Panthers aren't on that level. I do think they're going to beat the Rangers. Both teams are great. I expect both teams to make the Eastern Conference Finals this year, so I think that's going to be an interesting one. And I think you have about 3 other games on the week, and I think overall, I think you can finish with a 3-1 split. They'll lose a game they're not supposed to. And remember, hockey's a very weird and intricate game, but I have them beating the Rangers. Yeah, so now we move into Inter Miami, right? So Inter Miami just got off another big win as well. This week they will play Montreal. So how do you think they'll do in that one? Oh wait, by the way, my bad. I didn't say my Panthers pick. I think the Panthers are going to beat the Rangers tonight. They have like I mentioned, they have a very hard schedule to close out the year. But as you said, I think they will very much bunker down and go in pursuit of that Stanley Cup. Now moving on to Inter Miami versus Montreal. My apologies. They just got off a big win. How do you think they're going to do against Montreal? Do you think they continue that early season momentum? So I think you have to look towards last year to really get a good look at Inter Miami. When Messi was playing, they were elite. There's no way around it. And MLS truthers will try to tell you otherwise and try to tell you the league's great, the league is this, the league is that. The league isn't necessarily to the same level as Inter Miami, and that showed with Inter Miami's shellacking against Orlando FC, and I predict something similar against Montreal. I don't think Montreal has the big guns to beat a team like Inter Miami, and I expect Inter Miami to not only win, but win big. Yeah, that big, there were some concerns surrounding that big 3, but I think they will finally get in tune, and they'll have a very successful season, and they'll beat Montreal as well. Now let's transition into basketball. The Heat have one of the, unlike the Panthers, have one of the easiest schedules to close out the month and close out the season. However, that kind of scares me as a Heat fan because they tend to play down to their competition. They just had an incredible West Coast trip where they played up to their competition, but now they come back and have some easy competition at home. Do you think they take care of, now the team that is tied for worst in the league? Really? You're going to ask me if the Heat are not going to beat the Detroit Pistons? Come on now. The Heat will handle business against the Detroit Pistons very easily. I mean, I remember that season opener where they took us down to the wire and it was only 1 point to beat them. But yes, I do have confidence in the Miami Heat to beat the Detroit Pistons. Now to a bad basketball team in South Florida. The Hurricanes, true fall from grace. They rematch against Boston College. They faced them 2 weeks ago. I think I'm going to take Boston College because, you saw Quentin Post dominate inside of the paint. It's the same concerns we've been talking about. We've been saying for UM for the entire season, the issues with their size, and outside of North Shadow Mere with their lack of rebounding and everything. Like I think Quentin Post, I think Boston College gets a second win against UM in conference play. Miami, what happened to the game I love, man? You guys just, it's been a rough season. They're 15 and 14 with the last 2 games of the year on the line. We talked about it before the show. They need to win the ACC tournament to make the NCAA tournament. There's no way around it, and they're not going to. 6 consecutive losses. They're insanely cold compared to other Miami teams, and I don't see them winning another game this year. I think they're going to finish the year on an 8-game losing streak. I think they lose to Boston College, and I think they lose to their rivals FSU and finish what is ultimately a really disappointing year for Canes basketball. Hopefully, I think the strategy is internal development and rebuilding, and as Canes fans tend to say, there's always next year. There's always next year. So this is a reminder, if you want to keep up with the updates, fun segments, and more from our crew, you can follow the Instagram for all things Sideline. Follow us at sideline.caplin.
That's all the time we have for today. I'm Anthony Cruz.
And I'm Anthony Milian. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week on The Sideline.